Hey everybody, it's Rykard here again, back with another black and white Pokemon analysis. Today, we're going to be discussing the Mega Centipede Pokemon known as Pendoraa. So let's get started by taking a look at its abilities and its stats. So first off, this Pokemon is a bug poison type, meaning that it has the same typing as a Pokemon like Venomoth or Dustox or Beedrill or something like that. But this is actually pretty good defensive typing because you do quad resist, fighting, and grass. The only real downside to this typing, other than its weaknesses that are obvious like fire and flying and psychic, is the fact that you take extra damage from stealth rocks because you are weak to rock as well. So it's unfortunate that this Pokemon will lose 25% of health when it switches in, but what can you do? As for its abilities, the first one that it gets is a pretty useful one known as Poison Point. And what that does is it allows you to inflict poison on your opponent if they hit you with a contact move. And there's a 30% chance for this to happen for each contact move that hits Pendoraa. As for its next move, or ability, it is known as Swarm. And this is essentially the bug version of Torrent, Blaze, or Overgrow in the sense that it increases the power of your bug-type moves by 1.5 when you are at a third of your health or less. As for its next ability, it is known as Quick Feet, and this is its Dreamworld ability, but unfortunately, this Pokemon really cannot make great use of this because of the fact that it is a poison type, meaning that you can't use a Poison Orb or something to activate Quick Feet and will then have to rely on something like a Flame Orb instead. But since, as you can see by the stats, it has significantly higher physical attack than it does special attack. So by using the Flame Orb, you are essentially hindering your ability to attack physically because of the side effect of Burn, which halves your attack to an extent. So really, it's quite limiting to Pendoraa and shouldn't be used. As for the stats, you have 60 HP, coupled with 89 defense and 69 special defense, which really isn't the best defenses, but since Bug Poison is still a pretty good defensive typing, in my opinion, you can still make use of the fact that it has decently high defense stat, even though its HP is lacking, and its special defense really can't match up to its physical one. But since it does get the ability Poison Point, you can actually make great use of the 89 base defense stat, since you can make this Pokemon have really high defense and thus be able to take a lot of physical hits, allowing Poison Point to activate more often. As for its special attack, which I kind of mentioned before, it only is 55, so you can't really be using it that well as like a main attacking set, meaning you're not going to run a special set on Pendoraa, hopefully. But it's because its 90 base physical attack is significantly higher and very usable, you'll probably be running more physical sets when you're using Pendoraa. As for its speed, it is a great 112, meaning that you will have really high speed with this Pokemon, and it's very unfortunate that you lose to Starmie. I think it's by 5 or 6 points in speed, which it just sucks because this Pokemon could easily take out a Starmie with one hit if it was faster with like a stab bug move. But still, 112 speed is actually really good to have and will allow this Pokemon to be a very speedy physical attacker. So with that, let's take a look at a couple of sets. So this first set is going to be characteristic of a lead Pendoraa and will make use of a lot of different and unique moves that this Pokemon can learn. But first we're going to give it a Jolly Nature to increase its speed but decrease its special attack, and we're going to be using the ability Poison Point so that we have that extra chance to poison physical attacking leads that your opponent may use. As for the EVs, we're going to put 4 into HP to give you 1 more hit point, 252 EVs into attack to give you your max attack possible with a Jolly Nature, and then 252 EVs into speed to give you your max speed possible. As for the item, since we are a lead, we're going to be using a Focus Sash so that we have that chance, or so we can survive at least one attack from your opponent and be able to do something with your moveset. And this moveset first includes Toxic Spikes or just regular spikes, so that you can have a lead that sets up entry hazards, one that will either poison your opponent or one that will deal damage to anything that is grounded. As for the next move, we're going to be using Pursuit just so that any Pokemon that are on your opponent's side of the field that are also leads that could be very weak to a stab bug move from Pendoraa, um, it, this move can catch them when they're trying to switch out and deal quite a bit of damage, since it'll have high base power, and your max attack will obviously help that as well. As for the next move, we're going to be using Bug Bite, not because of its power, but because of its secondary effect, which gets rid of your opponent's berry if it's holding one. And since a Lumberry is fairly common on leads, such as Machamp or something, having Bug Bite to get rid of it will be very useful and allow them to be statused at some point, maybe later in the battle if need be. And then the last move will be Level Ground, so that you can lower your opponent's speed by one stage, and Level Ground is a new ground type move that does that. And it's really useful just in case there's anything that will outspeed Pendoraa, even though it does have very high speed. But an Azelf lead or something like that will obviously be immune to it because it is levitating, and obviously any flying types are immune to this move as well. But it's a pretty cool move to get an advantage on your opponent if you predict that they will be faster than you for whatever reason. So having Level Ground to easily lower their speed is always a plus. But as you can see, this first set has a lot of different moves that can be made use of in a lot of different ways if you're running as a lead. In this set, we're going to be basically making Pendoraa into a pure physical attacker. So we're going to be using the same nature, EVs, and ability as the previous set, but the only difference is we're going to be using the item Salac Berry instead of a Focus Sash, because obviously we're going to be wanting to attack and hurt them as hard as possible, and since most likely entry hazards will be on the field, having a Focus Sash when you're switching in really isn't that useful. And another option you might be thinking would be Life Orb to allow you to do more damage, but in reality, since this Pokemon's physical attack isn't in the highest tier of attacking, and because it is Stealth Rock weak, having a Life Orb would just make you hurt yourself more than you're hurting your opponent, which is unfortunate. So a Salac Berry is useful to help boost your speed even higher, even though already it is ridiculously high. As for the first move in the set, we're going to be using Swords Dance, because that's a great move if you want to boost your attack even higher. It boosts it by 2 stages, meaning that it doubles it, so it can turn Pendoraa into a very powerful physical attacker. Its first attacking move is going to be Mega Horn, because that is the most powerful physical bug move, and it will allow Pendoraa to do lots of damage if your opponent doesn't resist it, because it also gets stabbed from Mega Horn. As for the next move, we're going to be using Earthquake so that I can hit rock types and ground types and fire types and all that jazz, so that you have better type coverage, and it still is a very powerful attacking move if Mega Horn would be resisted. And then lastly, we're going to be using Rock Slide to again do more damage to different types of Pokemon, allowing you to be a big threat, since you'll be able to hit a lot of things for super effective and neutral damage. Lastly, we have this physically defensive set, which I kind of alluded to earlier in the video. So first we're going to give it a bold nature to increase its defense but decrease its physical attack. And I know that I said before that its physical attack really isn't the best, its special attack really isn't the best, but since the moves we're going to be using are special, we're going to need to be wanting to lower its physical attack as opposed to its special one. For the ability, we're going to be using Poison Point again, but this time we're going to be using it to its full extent because of the fact that we're going to be very physically bulky, allowing us to take a lot of different contact moves that would allow Poison Point to activate more often. As for the EVs, we're going to put 252 EVs into HP to give you your max HP, and then 252 EVs into defense to give you your max physical defense as well. And the remainder EVs are going into special attack to give you 1 more point in that stat. As for the item, we're going to be using Leftovers to increase our HP a little bit each turn because we are trying to be bulky, so having that extra health will always come in handy. The first move in the moveset is a new move known as Bug Opposition. I've also seen it written as something else, but I can't remember what that is right now. But this is how it is on Cerebi, so I'm believing it. But what bug opposition is it's a fairly weak bug type attack, but we're using it because of its side effect, which lowers your opponent's special attack by 1 stage. And so you're being incredibly defensively bulky with the bold nature and the max HP, max defense. So having a move like bug opposition, which will decrease your opponent's special attack, allows you to take more special hits as well, and thus making you kind of a physical and specialish wall. The next move in the set is a new move known as Venom Shock, which I'm sure I explained in previous videos, but if you haven't seen those, it is a 65 base power poison move, and it doubles in power if your opponent is poisoned. So since Poison Point will hopefully be activating a lot because of our ability to take lots of different physical contact hits, having Venom Shock as a really good stab move that will probably be doubled because of how often Poison Point will hopefully activate seemed like a really good idea. As for its next move, we're going to be using Iron Defense to increase your physical defense even farther, allowing you to take a multitude of different physical attacks from your opponents. And lastly, we're going to be using Rest so that we can heal up and also allow us to be more effective walls and get rid of any status conditions or any types of things that would hinder Pendoraa. And I wish this Pokemon really did have a better means of recovery other than Rest, but what can you do? I actually equate Pendoraa, or at least this set of Pendoraa, to be the physical version of what Dustox is in its tier, because Dustox is known for being a bug poison type with good special defense. So this is a bug poison type with good physical defense. And they have relatively the same stats for both of those things. Like they have around 60 HP and around 90 defense. So it's pretty cool that they made a Pokemon to be like a counter to it, in the sense that it does the opposite when it comes to taking damage. But that's it for Pendoraa. I hope you like these sets because they're all pretty unique and show that this Pokemon is very versatile. So let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you guys in my next video. So take care and goodbye.